It's been a hard week. A week full of division, disconnect, and loss. Division. The Democrats debate in New Hampshire. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle complaining of racism and ill treatment break ties with Buckingham Palace in their own Brexit. Disconnect. An impeachment inquiry condemns the actions of the president, yet leaves him in office and brings no concrete consequence. Loss. Our congregation mourns a beloved former pastor, Len Johnson, who exemplified kindness, fairness, clarity, and powerful leadership skills. Where are the leaders? And where are the exemplary citizens for our time? They rise in the darkness as a light for the upright. They are gracious, merciful, and righteous as our song. Happy are those who fear the Lord and who delight in God's commandments. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus characterizes his disciples as the salt of the earth and the light of the world. They are a city on a hill, not to be hidden. Leaders, examples for the world. Maybe you don't realize how strange it is that in a world of important people and events, Jesus tells his disciples, who are mostly uneducated people of occupied Palestine, mostly from Galilee, which is no Jerusalem, he tells his people that they are the focal point and the leaders of the world. And he tells them they're salt and light, not silver or diamonds or platinum or gold, but plain old everyday light and table salt. These people must be the most ordinary of all leaders. But maybe it doesn't matter who they are. In the age to come, when God's covenant with Israel is being fulfilled, God's Spirit is at work. And Jesus tells his disciples they are going to have an impact way out of proportion to their own power, wealth, intellect, or social importance. God has gifted them to be catalysts for change. It is mind-boggling. But what strikes me is that both light and salt are things that we value not for themselves, but because of the impact they have on other things. Salt is used to bring out the flavor of other foods. Salt cleanses wounds, although it burns as it does so. So it's an old-fashioned antiseptic. And as we know well here in central New York, salt has the ability to melt ice. Important. Light reveals what is hidden, helps plants to grow, separates one thing from another, and so enables us to orient ourselves. Light and salt point beyond themselves to other things. So it's about us, and it's not about us. One of the commentators I read for today, Marcia Riggs, says, Jesus gives his disciples the capacity to elicit goodness on the earth. The capacity to elicit goodness. And now I hope you'll forgive me if I speak of my mother, a recent loss of mine. Now, she was not a religious woman. She was certainly not a disciple of Jesus. Nor did she even really think of herself as a do-gooder. She stood in awe of her elder cousins, people I never met, but people she called pillars of society, the true do-gooders as she saw it in the world. Yet my mother quietly gave college loans to a friend of mine and also to the son of her parents' caregiver. She tutored the girl next door who was dyslexic and had trouble reading, but today is an MD. She helped a Haitian mother with 2 children obtain her green card and get housing. These days, Marie runs her own home health care business and is still a family friend. My mother helped me when I was unemployed, and she always asked what I needed before I could even ask her, and then gave me more than whatever I would ask. My mother's unfailing generosity made me know that I was loved. And if you ask my friend, she would tell you that my mother's faith in her made a huge difference, not just to her education, for that loan got her through a rough spot, but to her life. So if you want to know about my mother, look at the people she has helped. You may remember Dorcas from the book of Acts, who used to make clothes for the women of the church. So precious was she to the early Christian community that Peter brought her back from the dead. She could not be spared. My friend Allison doesn't make clothes, but she's a thrift shopper, an unpaid image consultant. I rarely ever go shopping because Allison picks out clothes for me and gives them to me or sells them to me cheap. I remember one time I said that my getting dressed in the morning is actually it's a community enterprise. In winter, Allison picks up coats at the thrift stores and distributes these coats to people on the streets. Other times, she dresses friends and family members in what suits them, whether they are fat or thin, old or young. Let Allison dress you and you will feel beautiful and stylish, ready to conquer the world. If you want to know Allison, look at the people she's dressed. Last week, we celebrated the life of Pastor Len Johnson. He was a family man and pastor whose community extended well beyond the bounds of his blood and his church even. The neighborhood kids knew him as the married Catholic priest. He loved the children of the church so much that he created a whole set of characters for them in his Tales from the Swamp, paying attention to what mattered to them, exploring their interests and concerns, and teaching them about God's love. If you want to know Len Johnson, look at the children he raised. My young friend Lauren has been battling breast cancer for years. I met her at the Methodist church where I interned in about 2005 or 6, and I believe she was already a survivor then. Lauren is a musician and arts therapist. She's a choir member who sings beautifully. She solos as well. The word that comes to mind when I think of Lauren is light. Really. Throughout her long war with metastasized breast cancer, she has carried herself with amazing grace. Lauren regularly writes a group email to her prayer team, sharing her story, her struggle, and although now and then she has admitted to weariness or frustration, she has been overwhelmingly positive through all the treatments, alternative and conventional, the diets, the fatigue. She is married. She continues to make music whenever she can. Her journey has encouraged our faith. If you want to know Lauren, look at the prayer community she has created. It's not only about doing, per se. Our life is about connection, and it's about being. And we should remember that when Jesus gives us the characteristics of the church here in his opening of the Sermon on the Mount, he's not telling us what we have to do. He's describing who his disciples are. And he's saying that it's inequitable. You can't hide a city on a hill. You can't hide it. The examples I have given exemplify some of the spiritual gifts: helping, giving, teaching, preaching, and sharing faith. Each gift and act points beyond the giver or doer, letting every child of God know that she matters, he matters very much. And when we attend to our own spiritual journey, as Lauren has done, we honor our own importance and God as well. It's about us and is not about us. Today, I'm asking your prayers for Lauren, whose doctors at MGH have given her a prognosis of only a few weeks. It's shocking after seeing her battle on for years, decades maybe, that now these doctors give her only a few weeks, but she's not claiming it. There will be a party for her at the Methodist Church this afternoon. She's still young, and she is claiming life. I wish I could go. That's in Arlington, Mass, so I can only pray. Please pray also for Allison, who has surgery tomorrow. Clothing and feeding people, as we do in this church. Raising children, enduring illness and loss with the best faith we can muster. These actions and attitudes reverberate in ways we cannot overestimate. The world is often cruel and chaotic. The world does not value children, the sick, or the poor, but we do. And our faith nurtures and orients us. Sometimes I think we need, and the world needs most, that reorientation. In Georgia, I once or twice had the opportunity to attend President Jimmy Carter's Sunday school. A great statesman, can you imagine, in a little Baptist church. And I remember him saying that if all the Christians in the world actually began following Jesus, we would have world peace. World peace. So, leaders, you are the light of the world. And as we wait for the fulfillment of the coming kingdom, we treasure God, people, and the journey. Amen.